Welcome to the Aviation Pros Podcast, the go-to platform for professionals in the aviation industry. Powered by AviationPros.com, the leading source for comprehensive news, insights, and data on airport operations. Whether you're focused on airport management, improvement programs, ground handling, equipment, MRO, or FBO operations, we've got you covered with the expertise and resources you need to stay ahead.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Aviation Pros Podcast. I'm Emily Gorski, editor of Aircraft Maintenance Technology, and I'm here today with Raphael Haddad, president of Jetcraft Commercial. We're here to explore the issue of engine scarcity in the aviation industry, including plans for mitigating shortages and key challenges in impacting aircraft procurement. Hi, Raphael. Thanks for being here today. How are you doing?
Hi, Emily. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Welcome. Now, the first question I had for you is, what challenges are currently affecting engine availability this year?
Well, there's a borderline that happened between the last year and what we're seeing forward right now, okay? So I'm going to talk about what's been happening up to a month ago, and then we'll talk about something else, what's going forward. Up to 3-4 weeks ago, a month ago, the engine scarcity has been affecting heavily aircraft availability. It's been affecting both the aftermarket as well as the new aircraft. There's technological issues. There is engine demand issues. So there's quite a few issues that we can tackle here. First, the OEMs, all right? That's the first line that feel the engine scarcity. And we're talking about, if we're going to go into the narrow body segment, which is the highest demand in terms of engines, whether we're talking about Airbus or Boeing, both engine availability is affecting directly the production lines of these narrow body manufacturers. So Airbus would love to be at the 75 aircraft a month, and they're not. They're now borderline around 64 aircraft, maybe 65 aircraft a month. Boeing would like to be at 47 aircraft a month with the narrow body, with the 73 MAX, but they're not. And honestly, I don't know how far they are from that number. The numbers keep on going up and down because they had a huge number of aircraft that were on the tarmac, new aircraft that were awaiting engines, okay, and other fixes as well. So let's assume Boeing's around the 40-ish mark or just under it or just above it, and Airbus is around the 64 aircraft a month or 65 aircraft a month. So these two OEMs, and I'm not talking about Comac at this stage, and I'm not talking about Embraers, and I'm not talking about ATRs and others. So just focusing on this, they are feeling it directly. And they get priority. They get priority over anyone else unless the airline is a big heavy hitter and they have the weight and they push their weight around to get the next engine, 12 brand new engines. On the aftermarket engines, it's a mess. But at the same time, it's a very healthy industry to be in. So I don't want to name names, but the big players, they know who they are. And they are meeting the demand of the market, however, with a big upside in the pricing for the airlines. So the engine that was trading at 5 million now is trading at 8 million. And the engine that was trading at 8 million now is trading at 12 and 13 million. So we're talking about huge swings. I'm talking about narrow body engine, I'm talking CFM 56 7B or 5B or the V2500. And of course, we're talking also about GTF engines and LEAP engines, which those would be on the higher end of the segment. So the effect is felt directly into the pocket of the airlines. It's a huge swing. We're talking about, to split it in percentage, we're talking about 30 to 50% increase in engines that are coming out of the shops.
And you mentioned Boeing and Airbus and their production. So was what you were referring to the ramp-ups that they have planned, or is that something separate?
No, that's the ramp-up. Basically,
okay, yes.
Well, let's not talk about ramp-up. Basically, Airbus, they want to be at 75 aircraft a month. Mm-hmm. Okay? But the problem is that the aircraft is coming out on the other end of the assembly line, but the engine is not there. That's the issue.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. And another cause that I noticed when I was preparing was MRO bottlenecks. So I wanted to ask how bottlenecks in MRO are affecting engine availability and output.
Well, directly. It is a direct correlation. And the reason why I'm talking about 30 to 50% increase in aftermarket engines is because of the MRO bottleneck. Okay? And the good thing is that we are seeing more MROs or more shops that do handle engine overhaul, but not enough. Not enough because of the huge number of engines that are requiring performance restorations and shop visits versus the accreditation that is being provided by the engine OEMs to the shops. Okay, so the demand is way steeper than the supply, and then the availability of engine shops. It's there, and the big question mark now is what's going to happen going forward. And this is basically your podcast is right at the borderline. Okay, what are we facing? Are we facing a potential recession or just a slowdown? How long are these fuel prices going to continue for? Okay, and an increase in fuel prices, how long is it going to be? Hedging is an issue. The other side of the coin is we have few airlines that have been grounded. We have big airlines that have been grounded or have reduced their flying. We're talking about all the airlines that are around the Middle East. Right? So we can't ignore that fact. Emirates Airlines is a big airline. Qatar Airways is a big airline. You know, the Saudi Arabian Airlines, there's more than one. They're quite dominant. Etihad Airways as well. However, because of the reduced frequencies into that region, basically you have availability of leased engines. You have availability of spare engines that are available there that are being marketed right now because airlines don't want to see their inventory on the tarmac or in the hangar.
Yes, definitely. And thinking about all those aircraft, how is the engine scarcity impacting the aircraft value and procurement, maybe for those airlines?
Okay, so we're going back to the scenario that is not the one going forward. I would say they go hand in hand, okay? Aircraft values go hand in hand with engine values, okay? So, as you know, the bulk of an aircraft value is through its engines, right? So, if we look at, let's say, a narrow body that's midlife, I would say the engine value is around 60% of the aircraft value, if not higher, okay? It depends on the maintenance condition of the engine. So, it could be anywhere between 50 and 70% of the whole aircraft value, okay? So, it's a big number. Now, that is affecting directly the aircraft values themselves. So, narrow bodies right now, if we look at, let's say, an A320 midlife, it's trading right now at 30% or 35% higher than a few years ago. Okay, it's a big delta. And it's definitely pre-COVID versus the pre-COVID number. Even if we filter out the inflation, the increment is around 30%.
Thank you. And kind of relating to that, obviously when we planned this interview, it was a while ago, quite a bit more has gone on.
I know.
That may be affecting, what we're talking about.
Yes,
so,
big time.
Yeah, so something that I wanted to ask was how the overall market balance is being impacted.
Let's say on the narrow body was overheated up to like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Okay? And still in a very good position. Because even this latest crisis, we have not seen any aircraft being put on the market more than usual. Okay, so there was few aircraft that were put on the market. There was the situation with Spirit's situation and bankruptcy protection. So basically that kind of put some aircraft on the market, but not that many. And since then, we haven't seen many more narrow bodies go on the market either. So I was expecting that now, 4 weeks into the conflict, that we see a little bit more availability and inventory, but we still haven't seen it. So that tells me that the airlines that are being affected are still optimistic about it, that they probably see potentially a quick recovery. So things are still hanging. Decisions are being made. Now airlines are digesting the fuel cost. They're trying to manage that as much as possible. Some of the airlines are actually benefiting from some airlines not flying anymore or having reduced the flight schedule to fly their inventory higher. So there's a wait and see situation that's happening right now.
Sure, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes. So I kind of want to go back just a little bit with what you were talking about with the aftermarket solutions. Could you talk a bit more about how that's, growing in popularity?
Well, because of the scarcity of parts, not only engines, we're talking about engines, we're talking about parts, and the fact that the existing shops cannot keep up with demands, that is having direct effect on pricing. And we feel that not only on the engine level, we feel it at every level, landing gears. If you have a fresh landing gear that you have overhauled last year and you want to sell it today, I have seen a landing gear go up in price that used to sell for 600 to 7 million. Okay? Was 600,000. Now, because it's available today and it's fresh, it's going for 1 million. The same landing gear 9 months ago would have gone for 600,000. Now, basically, what that tells you, it's not the scarcity in parts, but also the scarcity in freshly overhauled parts. And the freshly overhauled parts, these guys are replacing the availability of new rotables or new parts. All right. So, unfortunately, we don't see the OEMs that are maintaining their own rotables increasing by an equivalent proportion their supply of the market. So if the market's demand has increased by 35% or 40%, I don't see the OEM of a landing gear increasing his production. Maybe they increased by 10%. The other question is that have they increased their shop productivity by that equivalent? No, they have not. However, what they're doing is that they're benefiting from the higher price for their services. It's a nice position to be in, to be the like of Safran or GE, it's a nice position to be in. Not only basically your production, your shops are full, but also you were able to get a higher price for your service by the shop visits. It's a nice position to be in.
Yeah, definitely. And with that, how is this increased use of the aftermarket parts impacting the fleet availability and efficiency?
Well, if you look at windshields, very few shops are doing windshields overhaul, okay? The laminated windshields, they need attention. And the backlog now at the shop, I don't want to name them, is huge. However, who's benefiting from that is the shops that were not desired shops, okay? They were still certified and everything, but now you have the top tier windshield shops that are getting very full waiting line. Who's getting the spill is the shop that used to be not to be desired. Not because it's not certified, it is certified, it meets the criteria, but it wasn't the preferred shop. Now even the non-preferred shops are getting the overflow and they are benefiting from that. So that's on windshield. So the same thing is on landing gears, the same thing is on engines, the same thing is on avionics. So everything and every specialty, every rotable shops is feeling the benefit of that.
Thank you. So I do have one more kind of bigger question for you, which is how is Jetcraft Commercial helping to mitigate these capacity gaps and reduce the impact of the delivery delays from the engine scarcity?
Well, not only from an engine scarcity, I'm going to mention it on an aircraft because we are an aircraft trader. We're not an engine trader, but everything is related, really. We are connected to most airlines in the world. Okay. We have relationship with most airlines in the world. So I can give you an example of a customer who needs an A321 XLR. Okay. So because of our network, they've been trying to go and find and talk to people, but it's not easy. If you don't have the trajectory of who to talk to, it's tough. So we were able to go and identify some A320 XLRs that actually very few that could be offered to him, and now he's making his decision. So how do we benefit? It's because of our relationships, our market penetration. We are connected to most airlines in the world, whether it's in the Americas or in Europe or in Asia or even in Africa. Where actually some big airlines are now present there. So we go and we contact our friends, and those same airlines that actually sought our services in the past, now we're seeking their services on helping our customers meet the requirements. And we're not only doing it on aircraft level, we're also doing it on engine and landing gear and APUs and windshields, but engine and landing gears are the biggest high demand rotables right now.
Thank you so much. And those were all of the big questions I had for you, but is there anything else important that you'd want to touch on before we wrap up?
Well, I would like to touch upon the unknown. We have a huge unknown coming our way. Okay. Basically, the unknown comes from oil prices, comes from interest rates, comes from geopolitical situations. How is that going to be managed? How is that going to be felt? How is that going to affect our pockets as travelers, as well as airlines, and as well as traders? It's an unknown. We thought that the Ukrainian conflict was going to be a short-term conflict, and look at us. We're now 5 years later, and we're still in it. Is the Middle East conflict going to be the same thing? We don't know. So it's very weird that I was expecting that the Ukrainian conflict would affect us a little bit more. But the industry, the travel industry kept on going, humming, aircraft trading, engine trading, everything kept on humming and going and increasing. This latest conflict, how is it going to affect us? Is it going to be the same way? Are we going to be able to navigate around it? You know, we thought that we would have the answer and we would be able to predict some kind of a downturn. We don't know. We don't know. So we're going to keep on working. We're going to keep on seeing how things are going to move forward. And hopefully we'll come out from the other end very, very soon.
Yes, very well said. Yes, that's super important. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Of course. And thank you so much for joining me today. It's been great talking to you. And yeah, thank you for all of your insights.
Thank you, Emily. All the best.
Of course. Of
Take
course.
care.
Same to you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Aviation Pros Podcast, produced by Endeavor Business Media, a division of Endeavor B2B. Stay ahead in airport operations and leadership by subscribing to our Airport Business Daily newsletter and our monthly Airport Business Insider newsletter, only available to key decision makers in aviation. And don't forget to explore even more at AviationPros.com, the home of exclusive content for aviation professionals like yourself. I'm Joe Petrie. We'll catch you next time.